感觉自己跟队伍的状态这段时间都是有所上升的。
FPX 的话，他们前中期特别猛嘛，整体实力每个人实力也不是特别弱吧。
看一下一个嘲讽闪电嘲讽到3个人，一个 Q 技能伤害量很高，一回头一个正义冲拳，日本直接被秒。另外一边配本又跳进来了，平野林同时也是倒下，老白那个双人组已经走不掉了。
FPX 是一支围绕着打野在进行游戏的一队，就是他们的打野 Piper， 就在我眼里好像就是一个小香锅。
我的风格的话也是跟他们差不多，但是我觉得我的性格方面是更加的凶悍一点的。
RNG 他们有3个 ADC 嘛，但是我觉得不管是哪个 ADC 我都不是很怕。
我觉得林伟翔虽然就是新生代 AD 算打得不错的，但我觉得在我们狗哥面前还是有差一个档次。
我们是一个新的一支队伍嘛，可能在经验上面会输给他们，但是我觉得我们冲劲还有我们的热情更足一点吧。
就看谁前中期打得好吧，打得好的话哪边就能赢嘛。
好的，各位现场以及在直播前收看我们比赛的观众。
He's built up naturally by himself, then he just steamrolls you in team fights.
Yeah, like we say, Uzi's the kind of guy who every once in a while he'll just win a game for you. You don't quite know how it happens or why it happens, but he just has the raw mechanics to make it happen. Of course, that's not RNG's only strategy. They have been playing through the mid lane. They have been playing through the top lane. And let's take a look at our lineups first. FPX, they're going to have to bring them down. It's Gimgoon, Pepper, Bing, LWX, and Chris.
And FPX, again, it matters here most. They are currently 5-5, middle of the standings, and only get one shot at a very weakened RNG.
And their opponents, RNG, Let Me, Karsa, Xiaohu, Uzi, and Ming.
The return of Let Me, it's been Zatai playing top lane most recently for RNG, and frankly, it's been because of individual performance issues with Let Me. He looks a little bit lost during the mid game. He's not.
It will be a Skarner, Tamkench, and Sejuani ban in from FPX, and it will be Kalista and Jarvan from RNG.
And already, of course, FPX checking out Karsa's champion pool. Last 4 games, he's just gone towards the Sejuani and Skarner. So he can easily just take a step back, go back towards the Jarvan and Kha'Zix, but it looks like they understand that Karsa's trying to facilitate for his lanes, play a slower game, get to that level 6 point, try to create that fight. So immediately, it's forcing Pepper's game, forcing that high tempo. I want to see what he picks for himself.
Looking towards FPX now for their first pick. Camille was the final ban from RNG as well. They are currently hovering mid laners now. Bing very much had a redemption series last time we saw him against LGD. Very much had a very good performance on Azir and Galio, 2 champions he'd suffered on. However, first pick of Cogmore for FPX. This is a little bit new. Typically, you don't see a first pick of AD carry for them.
Yeah, and honestly, for the past 6 series, I've only been seeing, or at least 6 games, we've only been seeing the Kalista and the Xayah coming out of LWX. So the fact that they're saying, well, actually, we're just going to pick the Kog'Maw and try to scale up, seems like you already know what kind of composition FPX are trying to form.
Which is interesting, because when you look at FPX and RNG, you're looking towards the early and mid game. We heard that out of the players, you know, just before as we were getting into today. So a first pick Cogmore, very much a different strategy coming here, and it's actually going to be Galio and Shen from RNG, so maybe they're gearing up for the same type of thing.
Wow, global and semi-global. They're just going to be going towards the bottom lane, it seems like, just because if you pick a Shen, especially early pick, now we don't know if that's going to be a support for Ming or if it's going to be the top lane just yet. That's fair, but regardless, that just means that it looks like we're going to be seeing a lot of action coming out of Karsa. Is going to have a lot of, I would say, going to be looking to move and communicate with the Shen to get impact on side lanes.
You know, try and put that damage down onto the shotgun AD carry LWX. Now Vladimir will be picked up early here from FPX. This is a Gimgoon special. Gimgoon will pretty much take this pick to the grave. He will pick it in pretty much any mess that we've had so far. Always goes towards that gold generation item though.
Yeah, so he always try and finds himself, let's say in the mid game, late game, trying to deal damage in team fights or be a core split pushing kind of focus. So he's been blind picking himself these kind of poor matchups, not really caring about what matchup he goes into. So he finds himself in a negative goal differential, especially in the last 3 series that they've been winning. He's still been having a poor laning phase. So he's not too much concerned about the laning phase itself, wants to get out of that and be able to help his team later on.
Yeah, that's actually still true of the whole split. He's typically down around 400 gold at 15 minutes. So we'll see if that is true coming into this game. Alistair was the pickup for Crisp right here. So actually just securing the bottom lane from FPX right in the first phase. And it will be Wow, that's going to be Uzi's Caitlyn coming out.
Yep, so immediately just kind of laying it down, saying that early laning phase is going to be so much better here. We haven't seen the support pick just yet. Obviously, if you're FPX, you might want to narrow that down a little bit. Maybe, I mean, they took away the Tom Kench. They might kind of narrow that a little bit more. You have to wonder if they really take the Shen support seriously. So here's the big take on this. If you're FPX, you look towards RNG side, you have to wonder how quick that bottom lane turret's going to be taken away. Because the Galio being picked up, the Shen being picked up for themselves, RNG has to be aiming earlier on to be able to take that turret and move along towards sieging mid lane a little earlier on.
You'd have to expect so. RNG actually ban away the Kled here, so they are expecting there's a potential for the Vladimir to be a flex into the mid lane here from Bing, though we haven't really seen it so far, not really in the Bing wheelhouse. Sion was the ban there towards Let Me, and then Lee Sin at Pepper.
Yeah, and I actually do like the Shen top lane versus the Kled, so I think that matchup in the lane is actually pretty decent for the Shen, so don't know why they have to worry too much about that unless if that Shen's going to play.
Yeah, maybe it's just trying to remove methods of getting on top of Uzi. Then again, they have two massive tanks to stand in front, so I'll have to think about that one a bit more. But FPX looking towards their final ban now. Let's see if it is one more against the top lane. No, it's going to be jungle, taking away Karsa's Kha'Zix.
All right, so the jungle being thinned out a little bit with the Kha'Zix, Lee Sin, Skarner, Sejuani. If I'm RNG, you could kind of play towards like a Rek'Sai. I think a Rek'Sai would be fine here, especially in the LPL where we've been having shorter games. So you're shorter, I would say, spikes. Getting the Warriors, Black Cleaver really helps you out with a Shen ulti on top of you. So I would go towards that. Ooh!
Rengar also works too into the jungle, looking for that early game, mid game picks, of course, and also getting into the jungle here from Karsa. Now, did hear a bit of smack talk from him at the start of the day, saying that Pepe feels like he's just discount MLXG, so we can definitely deal with him.
Oh, you know what? Karsa's just been talking a lot of smack. I don't know, man. The guy's just firing shot in every lane, even in the bottom lane where he has no impact in. I'm just saying, guy needs to calm down a little bit.
Well, he needs to put his money where his mouth is in this game, so it will be Rengar into, there's the Rek'Sai, so not going to be here for RNG, but if you are looking towards the early mid-game for FPX, this one does fit the bill.
And so we have to start talking about FPX's composition in their frame of mind. When they talk, usually they want to look towards a proper mid lane matchup and proper jungle matchup. That's how they kind of get the early game groove, because even though we know them as an early game team, they actually pick themselves poor top lane matchups and poor bottom lane matchups, because they want to essentially find themselves ganking bottom side or top side in a longer lane, knowing that bottom side for the enemy team is going to be pushing in, top side is going to be pushing in. So it allows Bing and Pepper to have that early game impact. So they're going to be trying for early skirmishes. It's going to be RNG to try and protect those lanes, kind of put them in a bubble. Might be seeing a lot more defensive wards coming out of Karsa for that one. So Rek'Sai, I think, is a beautiful pick going up against Rengar, especially once he pinks 6. It's so much easier to see and locate where Rengar actually is, just because even though he's invisible, you know exactly where he is.
Well, that was a Zir on one side for FPX going towards Bing, but it's Rumble locked into the top lane for Let Me. Now, this is not a pick that we've seen for a little while. We've had 4 picks so far in the LPL, 50% win rate, but typically you see it from players like Ray was one that comes to mind, but not Let Me.
Really, really early on in the split, we saw the Rumble. So this is such a time gap, finally seeing it. And when when you do see the Rumble pick, it's to allow the jungle to press up into the blue side. It depends on what side they're in right now, the red side. So that's going to be, they can go into the blue side jungle a little bit more easily because Rumble has the push pressure into Vladimir. So interesting that they have that. And if he can TP towards the bottom lane team fight with the, of course, with the Rengar, with the Galio, then that would make for a composition that's pretty fiery, pretty nice.
Definitely just seem around like the TP level 6 seems to be where it's going to pop off really for RNG once they get the ultimates and the ability to really rotate quickly towards the bottom side of the map and try and get Uzi at the very least isolated, if not just pushing down the bottom lane right here, because top lane, as you said, Rumble now coming in, it's again Gimgoon picking up an early Vladimir rotation and picking himself into a matchup that he's going to be pushed in or going to be losing some farm early and then looking towards, you know, mid game.
Yeah, even mid game, late game, right? Vladimir is going to do so well into that one if he can get himself the item. So it's going to be a fact of how much gold can RNG accrue early on in the game. You mentioned the level 6 power spikes that RNG is going to have for themselves. And if FPX can find themselves an ability to impact these siege positions, because they have like the Vladimir flank points, right? So they can look for the flanks. If Caitlyn's looking to siege up mid lane, RNG has to be ready for that, because if they're not, if they get a little bit, but Uzi cannot be baited. Unbaitable.
Pepper still thinking about it. He just had that gank route in. Now in comes the engage. Knockup lands. And Ming's taking so much damage right here. In with the teleport, but it might be a little bit too late. LDX is still tanking damage. Managed to shield out of the way, and Lemmy coming into the bottom lane. Lays down the red carpet, and Chris trying to make it out. High Caffeine Enterprise does a bit more damage, but a flash after from Lemmy secures the second.
Oh my god. Speaking of baits, by the way, it seems like one team's playing chess, the other team's playing 3D chess. Uzi recognized that they were pressuring up so heavily, he didn't take the bait. Ming, by the way, 1 HP, still has stopwatch, but you could tell by the timing of that teleport, but the position that Letme had, he was ready for that.
Yep.
So even though the gank came through, honestly, LWX walk away. Because I have to focus on LWX in all of this, because sure, he sees the opening. He wants to get the kill at the very least, no matter if he dies or not. The shield comes through on Shen, he takes the tower damage, even knowing that Letme's coming through. If he walks before that play even starts, if he walks away while the TP's channeling, he knows that Pepper's behind him. He actually would have had a path to get the hell back.
He just sees this invade happening from Karsa, but knows Zhao who is there first. So Smite comes down. He does look for the knockup right here, just secure the red buff. In comes Bing as well, and Divide comes out, but Karsa, he's in stealth. He chooses to jump back into the play. Perfect timing comes in, and Zhao with the Winds of War pops the ultimate. It's enough damage reduction to get his ally out of here, but Chris turns up to the play as well, lands the knockup, and the rest of RNG has arrived. In comes the equalizer, and that splits up the fight once more. Chris is completely by his lonesome, and he will fall.
My goodness, that took so long, and they were so close to getting the kill on Karsa. And even though Chris died, I still felt like he was the MVP in that entire scenario. It was a desperate fight just so Pepper can find any way back, losing both bottom lane and top lane towers 14 minutes into the game. We're talking about scaling. They're just not going to be able to get to the first item for LWX.
Karsa finding Pepper in the jungle. Letme also following on the play. Gimkun with the ultimate coming down, but Pepper is already dead. Sanguine Pool, but now he's up a creek without a paddle. Flashes over the wall, and Zhao who looks for it as well, but he's not in range for the taunt. So it turns out there was a paddle in that little canoe he had, so managed to get out of the play, but still Pepper's dead, and the red buff will go over to RNG.
Yep, talking about timings. We have opportunity to get picked off. Sure, he has Spellbook, but he's favoring the heal instead of the cleanse, so there is an opportunity, and RNG have been looking for it to get a kill onto him, but he's been having an even game.
Karsa catching out Crisp in the river right here, is completely by himself. He flashes over the wall, maybe able to get to safety. 4 people on his trail though. Uzi going to be flashing over this wall as Karsa comes in as well.
Another bush.
And headshotted. Down goes the cow. So I was expecting him to probably take one more hit than that, but he's just going to die.
Yep, and you know what that means? That your primer...
The Baron, they're forcing RNG to come towards them right now. Ming, he's looking for the engage. It's already down to 3,000 HP, looking for that taunt to come out. In comes the Galio ultimate. The spike comes down, secured by Pepper. Now the fight ensues. Zhao zoning away both Bing and LDWX by himself. Uzi in the backline is completely untouched and is able to shred through that front line right here. Chris trying to escape over the wall, and Gimgun and Pepper on the retreat. Ming with the ultimate as well, able to keep his carries alive. No one from RNG is dead, and Gimgun is 1 versus 2 now. Uzi, he has the Guardian Angel. 3 kills to RNG. As Bing does manage to find a return kill onto Karsa in the 1v1.
But that hits the point we were talking about in the itemizing for LWX. RNG pressed tab and noticed it. The taunt right on top of LWX. The Let Me Rumble ulti on top of him. He was at 10 HP before the fight officially started.
Trying to buy some time, bringing up a tower here from Bing, but it's not going to stay standing very long when Uzi's in front of it. Got all of his health back from that fight. 15 seconds left on LWX, trying to get this inhibitor to really open up this game once more. Gimgun actually by himself in the bottom lane. Has already used the Sanguine Pool, and he's down. Colossal Smash comes in, and Zhao with the kill.
And that's a 60-second death timer on top of Gimgun's head. So sure, the rest of FPX are back up to defend, but they're not going to be able to chase them down. RNG is going to be on the map a little bit longer, because if FPX try to chase them on, that's just an outright 4v4 in favor of RNG.
Unfortunate in the end. I'm not sure. Did anyone survive with Baron buff in from FPX?
Oh, that's a good question. We're about to find out.
I'm not sure if anyone has that still on them. Bing has it. Bing has that one last remaining Baron buff. So FPX were able to keep one of those alive, so it buys them a little bit of time here.
Yeah, you know what? There's that final stand we're waiting for when it comes to FPX. It's going to be around Bing. Take a look at this. So the taunt comes through. Just look at LWX sitting on top of the Rumble ulti. Doesn't have much magic resist, so when the fight finally starts, he's at 10 HP, and Uzi's at 150% HP, just because, of course, he has that extra shield, you know, just kind of adding a little bit more to that. So Uzi's ready to just kind of tank up the entire front line, because he knows that he's... Oh, wow, that's actually sad. You know what? He's trying. You thought he got
down again. Concrete Sands, auto attack, see you later.
Yeah, I just had to interrupt myself. Just But if there's ever another Rumble ulti on top of me, maybe I'll have 20 HP. Maybe I can actually output an auto attack.
Drawing the line in the sand, Let Me places it down. Bing trying to provide cover fire for Chris right now, and we've got Gimgoon looking for the dive into the back line. In comes the ultimate as well. The Void Rush comes in, but Ming able to jump back to Uzi, and he hasn't even scratched him. Gimgoon now trying to back away as Zhao, who's turning away the rest of the team. Bing and LGX still alive, but the rest of the team is not there. In comes Chris once more, but Gimgoon will finally fall. Nice knock up onto Uzi right here, but the ring gauge comes in from Ming. He'll sacrifice himself for Uzi, and Chris dives into the back, but he's dead. That's another trade onto Let Me, however, and that turns into a 3-for-3 trade, and FPX, they send RNG packing.
Honestly, that is as good as you can get if you're FPX. Gimgoon output a lot of DPS, and then Crisp at the end of the fight, getting enough of a front line, good headbutt pulverize, allows LWX and Bing to walk up. So the people that actually matter on FPX that can defend the end of the game, both their carries are still up and running.
3-for-3 in the end right there. The inhibitor did fall, however, to RNG, so they did lose ground in a sense. But it is a renewable resource. It will be back eventually as we get to take a look at that fight once again.
So LWX walks up a little bit, so he doesn't actually take too much hurt. Let Me's ulti, and he also gets silenced as well, so he's not able to output too much damage. Gimgoon's able to push up 3 to 4 members just from RNG, and allows LWX and Bing to be able to put enough damage. So this was a good fight, I would say, from the front line of FPX to allow the back line to survive.
And the re-engage comes in from Crisp as well, forcing RNG to go back in, try and defend Uzi as the carries encroach on his position. So they end up losing top lane, they end up losing the support right here, and ultimately that's what allows FPX to try and defend.
And leaving an opening for FPX to take the Baron.
It's already low, down to 2,000 HP. Can they burst it? Yes, they can. Pepper's got this one, and Gimgoon lands a 2-man ultimate down onto Xiaohu and Karsa. Ming looks for the taunt, lands it onto 2 as well. Let Me and Uzi closing in from both sides, looking to pincer down on Crisp right now, and that Alistair will eventually fall. Gimgoon flashed over the wall and lives to fight another day. That's 1 kill, and the rest of FPX are looking to recall. The rest of the team is out, but Gimgoon, he's really on the serving platter right now, needs to make the escape of the century.
You know what? He's already done his job. He's a real soldier. Him and Chris fought for enough time for the rest of the team to escape with Baron buffs. So you know what, soldier? You can go to rest.
And that's fine. The rest of the team, Record, is now moving towards the Elder Dragon, seeing if they can burst this one down. Actually tuning to back away. They have supers moving into the top lane, but they have Baron buff now. 3 members have Baron buff on FPX.
This is going to be me ranting on RNG. Sure, they're going to try and go for the end just because they have 45 seconds on the Gimgoon, but why are they trading objectives? Why are they allowing FPX a chance to go on a Baron? Why even go towards the Elf specifically? Because he has, of course, the Alistair. He can go for the headbutt pulverized combo, and he has flash as well, so he has the largest opportunity.
But he's a long way from his team. Ming does land the taunt onto that front line, now lands the pulverize, the knockup coming in. Pepper backing away now. Let Me into the fight, doesn't have the equalizer just yet, and the Elder Dragon's down. It goes over to Uzi, and they are able to run down FPX now. Lines up the shot. He managed to hit Crisp on the way out. In comes the ultimate down from Zhao, who tries to defend his team. Lots of damage coming in from Gimgoon in the 1 versus 4 now.
My God.
Takes 2 people with him in the 1 versus 5, looking for another Tide of Blood, but shut down.
But you know what? I don't know what FPX were doing. That was their one opening at the end of the game. And ultimately, Alistar maybe was trying to go for a flank. Possibly. But if that's the case, then their communication is way too far off because the rest of FPX were way too close to the Shen. So they get engaged, and the flash opportunity Chris had, he had to use it to reposition in the fight. I was talking about Gimgoon using Spellbook to have TP and get to the fight, but he stuck to Ghost and had to take the long trip, so he wasn't even a part of it. Let's take a look at this. So yeah, Crisp has to flash for it. Look at Vladimir right now, ghosting to the fight, so he's not a part of it. Alistar had to try so hard to be a part of it. They've already been completely chunked when they had an opening of Let Me not being in the fight, and the Rengar as well, taking a long journey.
Gimgoon comes in at the very end, looks for the 1 versus 5 right here. Does take 2 people with him, but Bing and LWX chose to go back to base. They saw the super minions knocking on the front door. You have to wonder what would have happened if maybe a carry stuck with Gimgoon right there, because he definitely did better than I think a lot of people were expecting. Aaron down to half already. Pepper over the wall. He has the smite ready to go. The rest of the team pushes in as well. Santos, the flash, the knockup in from Chris onto the front line. Gimgoon, he's into the back. He's landed a massive hemo play in with Tides of Blood as well, buying more time with the Sonya's Hourglass. But now he's by himself. The team isn't following up. And Vladimir, he's dead right now. Another knockup comes in from Chris.
LWX.
Karsa, he backs away. LWX LWX, he's looking to put down the damage, being during the save, but he's gonna get headshotted in from Uzi, who is now untouched. The only person on him is Pepper. He doesn't have the damage. LWX and Chris looking to back away now, and Pepper running for his life, but there's no escaping the sniper. 3 kills to RNG.
They can finally take a deep breath. That was such a scary position for RNG. It was such a scary position for Uzi specifically because Game1 dealt so much damage. Miscommunication though, because Pepper was in position, as Steel Baron was nowhere in position to follow up. So really unfortunate from the team of FPX because that was their one time to shine.
Took the fight, didn't work out. LWX and Chris, the only 2 remaining members here to try and defend against a 5-man onslaught, including Uzi on this massive Caitlyn, who slays the cow where he stands. LWX looking to do what he can in his 1 versus 5, but honestly, it's not happening right here. He'll fall for the 5-0, the clean sweep on RNG. It was messy, but they take game 1.
Oh yeah, that was definitely hard for RNG at the end of the game, and they really do have to go back and start to figure out why did it take so long. I mean, right now they're happy, but strategy time, it's not over. Literally a best of 3.
Yep, that was only game 1. We've had a lot of long game 1s. I feel like our average game time has just taken a massive hit over the last 2 days, Raz, because those first games of these sets have been incredibly long. 60-minute game, 50-minute game, 50-minute game coming in here as well today. And you're right, there was a lot of back and forth in this game. You know, credit to FPX for actually trying to execute on their composition. And frankly, we got to a late game fight where it was like, well, if FPX win this,